They're not exactly telling you everything, my friends. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. Got a ton of stuff to cover in this video. We have so many things that have recently come forward, information that a lot of people are not aware of, things that were actually happening there. And we're going to get into it. And I'm actually going to get into stuff that you haven't seen yet. I haven't seen anybody cover some of the stuff I'm going to show you in this video. I have some rather interesting maps to show you and how it correlates to some stuff, where all this flooding was, what it correlates to, and you're not going to believe it, my friends. So let's get into this. First, let's start with this clip here. You can see some of what happened in this area of Asheville, North Carolina. You can see here, as they're driving along, what it really looks like. And of course, they've had a lot of difficulty getting items, getting supplies to this area due to a number of things, actually. For one, you had a lot of road closures. You have a number of towns that are pretty far away from it. But on top of that, you also have in some cases, them blocking you. We're talking police and also a number of other organizations as well. And we're going to get into all of that is really going on with this. You can see here more flooding as well in this area. As you can see here, a 40-foot shipping container pushed up on top of entire trees to give you an idea how much flooding was in this area. And what's interesting, check this video out. We have a YouTuber, I believe the guy's name is Graham here. You can see his channel name right here, where he was attempting to collect a number of items to give to these people in this area, a number of supplies and things like that. And they were trying to bring it through an airport into that area. And this isn't the first story. There's actually numerous stories like this where the police or some organization stops them from being able to deliver items. And let me just play a little clip here.
I don't know if you saw it, but it's getting a lot of views and people are asking what happened. And I'm just trying to get answers, you know, if it's a good.
Okay. Well.
So what happened here? First, he actually called the police. The police couldn't answer why everything was being halted. He had a lady working for him trying to get all these supplies to these needy people in Asheville, North Carolina. And for some reason, the police stopped her and were accusing her of stealing it. And so the police, when he called, they didn't have any answers. So they said, well, maybe you can talk to the guy at the airport. He would have some answers. So that's who he's talking to right now. And he's mentioning how he has a huge video getting tons of views talking about this. And here's what the guy responds to. He's asking what's going on. Why is this stuff happening?
I think it came down from the state.
Okay.
The state called up and said that they've cut supplies off to it because Linda was, they thought, commandeering stuff. Well,
So they cut it off because they didn't trust the lady that was trying to bring the supplies. And this isn't, like I said, there's multiple stories like this where, the police or whoever, in this case, it's someone from the state of Tennessee, for some reason, didn't like something because it wasn't the official organizations or whatever supplying this assistance, which is kind of interesting because we heard FEMA ran out of money. I'm going to get into that in a minute here, but guess why? About $1 billion went to the not-so-legals. As you can see there on the screen, $1 billion is supposed to be for this type of aid, for those who are going through hurricane and flooding and things like that. This money, $1 billion worth of it, went right here to the not-so-legals, as I call them, as you can see there on the screen. That's the official organizations that are supposed to be doing all this work, which of course they have no money to do anything. So then those that are unofficial are trying to do all this work, and they're getting blocked by the official organizations. Does that make any sense? That's what's really going on, apparently, in numerous cases. We even have Elon here talking about he has engineers working for him at Starlink, or SpaceX actually, trying to deliver Starlink terminals and supplies to that area. And apparently, because they ran out of money because they used the money for inappropriate reasons. They're the official, organization that are supposed to be doing all this help for those that are going through this. But because they have no money, they're not really doing anything. And they're not letting others do anything because they're not the official groups that are supposed to be doing it. See what I mean? So they're actually blocking people from helping out. It makes no sense. It's like absolutely ridiculous. And that's what's going on. And actually, there's even more. You can hear this guy right here. He's a trucker. He talks about how usually whenever something like this occurs, whenever there is flooding or something like this, there's usually a ton of supplies going into that area where it occurred. Like water pumps or whatever, right? To help out. And he says here in this video, and actually I can play a little bit of it, that there's nothing going to that area, like nothing. There's no jobs asking for, because usually this is a good time, a gold rush, I guess you would say, for truck drivers to that type of area. Let me show you what I'm referring to.
The people in North Carolina, you deserve to hear this. I'm a truck driver, all right?
And by the way, I'm going to get into some stuff that no one else has got into. Some people have played this. I think I've seen one video where someone played this. But we're going to get into something really interesting in a second here. I'm going to show you some maps. Kind of uncanny.
I have a 53-foot step deck. I've been trucking for about 2.5 years. I have a YouTube channel. You can verify that on Babyline Hotshot. Usually in a disaster situation, it is payday for truckers. We look for that hurricane. We look for that ice storm. There's generators coming to you. There's stuff coming out of military bases.
Right, and he actually goes into his app and shows that there literally are no jobs. $1.40 a mile, okay? And this is not even to the area.
These are all $1.40 a mile loads, $1.39. That was posted yesterday. I mean, there's nothing. There's nothing. These are loads that you wouldn't even, nobody's taking them.
Yeah, because, I mean, obviously you have to spend so much money, $1,200 really. I don't think they're going to be able to do that. So on top of that, it's not going to that area. And it's for very low amount of money. $1.40 a mile, $1.30 a mile. And so it seems like really what's going on here is, they're misappropriating this money. There's no money left for hurricane season. So they're not able to actually help out in that area. And when other people try to help out, they block them because they're not official. Absolutely insane. Of course, they should just let them go through and help out because clearly you guys aren't doing anything, right? This isn't exactly rocket science. But there's a lot of confusion going on as a result of this. And of course, they're giving $700 a day to these not-so-legals for hotel rooms while they only give $750 total to those that are in Asheville, North Carolina, who may have lost their home, their brother, everything, right? So, and of course, the other one came in obviously illegally, right? And they get more money a day than these people are getting in the entire amount, right? So this is what they think of you. Obviously, this is really ridiculous. Of course, you can see here on this map, and I'm going to get into this now. Very curious where this is, of course, outages, right? That's quite a bit of area too. That's got part of Florida into a lot of area, actually, as you can tell. But what I'm going to do in a second here, we're going to get into something rather curious I discovered. Some maps that correlate way too perfectly the area in which this all occurred. What is in that area? I'm going to show you in a minute here. First, I'm going to mention, let me just give you a teaser. It has a little bit to do with this. Okay? And I'm going to show you the maps and how they fit quite well. First, I'm going to mention food supply, 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description. 4 weeks worth for $187. You can buy as many as you want. If you buy 3, it's about $5.60. It's wise to get this. You never know what's going to happen next, my friends. Link is in the description for that. And, of course, considering the price of things these days, this is about 40% the price for 4 weeks of normal food. 40% the price, because it'll cost you over $400 probably for about 4 weeks worth of food at the store. $187. This, of course, is something with a 25-year shelf life. It's in case you can't get to the supermarket. Whatever occurs, you have it available at your home. This book here as well, The Lost Ways, How Your Great-Great-Grandfather Lived Without Electricity, Had a Bit of Cellar, Do Things Around the House like they did in the good old days, hundreds of pages illustrated. The fact of the matter is you want that book before something happens. You're not going to be able to buy it very easily after the power's gone because I'm about the only one selling it. And you want to get the printed version. It's like $37 plus shipping. Link is in the description. Gold and silver as well. Considering what these guys are doing right now, you have all these CEOs doing inside selling. Jeff Bezos, the Walton family, Zuckerberg's, Michael Dell, Vince McMahon, Peter Thiel. All these guys are selling like there's no tomorrow. And maybe it's because they know the stock market's crashing very soon here, which I've already shown the evidence that is going to happen. We have the yield curve is uninverted for the 10 versus the 2-year treasury. And every time it's uninverted in the past, stock market crashed within a couple months. So that's something we're going to see very soon here. They know it. That's why Warren Buffett is holding onto a ton of cash right now and has sold a ton of stock, because he knows that's going to happen. As soon as it crashes, he's going to go in and buy a bunch of stocks. So it's wise to, you can convert your 401k to a gold IRA, things like that. Link is in the description. I'm not a financial expert. I'm just telling you some ideas. Gold doesn't lose value during an economic crash. Dollar does, okay? Gold actually went up during the Great Depression, 60%. So it's something to think about. At any rate, of course, my website, JR Videos as well. Link is in the description. I got thousands of videos over there from over a decade ago. Some are obviously very recent. And I have even deep dives, videos I've made over there that are exclusive. Link is in the description. Let's get back to the video. So we have here, of course, something rather curious. I noticed you have lithium giant Albemarle. Is that how you say it? Albemarle? Plans to reopen a rich mine in North Carolina will take years to complete. This is from back in May this year. Now, what's interesting is I noticed there is a lot of mines in this area. And this isn't the... I'm going to show you a couple things here. So this is lithium, right? Notice the inflection point where it's showing you grid cell interpolated thematic grid cell, kind of showing you where there's a lot of sediment of lithium in North Carolina. Notice where the storm was. Okay. You got North Carolina here. If you can compare the two, you can see the outline here of North Carolina. You go over here, you can see it as well. Notice where the red is. This is where all the flooding was. You see that? All that right there. Go back over here. What is this? What is that right there? That's exactly where the flooding was. The highest point of lithium was in that area. They could buy up the land for very cheap potentially. If these people have lost everything, we saw this before. We saw this happen with Hawaii. What was that, a year or two ago? Lots of companies coming in there trying to buy up all the land. You remember that? Could this have something to do with it? I don't know. Seems very curious. The exact location where all the flooding was is also where there's the most amount of lithium in the state. You see that? Very close. I think it's basically right in this area, which has got the most red, by the way. It's over here as well, but this is where the most flooding is. So I just thought that was rather curious. Also, you have BlackRock has a lot of mining. They also have stock in many companies as well. I just thought it was very curious where most of the flooding was at is exactly where we see the most amount of lithium and also other minerals as well. So To me, it just seemed a little curious. It reminded me of the whole thing with Hawaii. Was that a year ago? I can't even remember how long ago that was. I lose track of time now. I'm getting old, you know what I mean? But you can see kind of how this could play into it. Some are wondering about that. I haven't seen many videos talking about what I'm showing you, though. You can see how much of just the amount of devastation as a result of this flood. Absolutely astonishing. You can see it with this one even more so. This was actually a freeway. No, a highway, not a freeway. It was a highway. You can see now it's just full of mud and water and such. And also, of course, people, if you've heard the stories. Now, this is what I was referring to. You have these people working in official capacity as police in various places. In Florida, also Asheville, it seemed like all across the board, blocking store owners from securing, of course, their own goods from, looters and things of that nature. It seems like, if anything, there's so many stories of people, some of these officials getting in the way of solving these problems. They should be out helping, not getting in the way. You can see here as well in this tweets, we have one of our representatives, Corey, of course, Mills, amplifying what I've heard from civilian rescue pilots, aid workers trying to save, of course, lives as the GOV fails in Western North Carolina. Of course, they did a photo op. Our wonderful prez did a photo op. Yes, what was it now? 2 days ago. 30-mile flight restriction. That was when, of course, we saw back here her giving a speech. The VP saying, we're going to give them $750. $750. Wow. You give $700 a day for hotel rooms to the not-so-legals. Absolutely ridiculous. You can see here also what has happened to a lot of this area as a result of this. I think this one is actually kind of surprising. You can see here a lot of these places are missing now. Changed the entire landscape in some areas. Entire towns gone as a result of all this. And of course, on top of that, you don't see very many outlets talking about this, right? And it's just absolutely ridiculous. You have people on YouTube trying to help out, trying to raise money, trying to bring in support, and then they're getting strange things occurring, blocking. And of course, this guy back here I mentioned, let me show you again, way back here, calling in, just trying to figure out what's happening to all the stuff that they were trying to send in to help, supplies. Apparently, the police were bringing it back to their armory and then just storing it in there instead of flying it out from the airport. And they're accusing the woman that was working for him of taking the stuff when she was actually trying to get it to North Carolina. And of course, like I guess it could just be all a matter of whoops, just things, our wires are getting crossed. We're not communicating properly, but it just seems like there's too much of this for it to be a mere coincidence. You could say it's all just officials getting in the way of things. It could be that as well. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that could occur in some situations. But the extent of this is just absolutely ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. Also, getting into a couple other things we have here. Whoopi Goldberg from The View going after Shazam star Zachary Levi because he endorsed, of course, 45. And he goes out and says, this could be the end of his career. She, of course, says something a little different. She says that, probably not. She goes in and basically says that Hollywood is on, of course, the right. And I'm like, what? Really? I've never seen that. Have you seen anybody in Hollywood, on the right? Not really. She's claiming that's where they're all at, which is absolutely ridiculous to claim such a thing. Clearly, usually those that are on that side don't end up getting work. They get blacklisted, things like that. And he, of course, he's the star of Shazam, the movie. He's like the main star. So it's kind of interesting that he came out with his support, for 45, knowing that he might not get any more work. You have, of course, Robert De Niro suffering from a certain syndrome. He can't stop talking about 45. Even during his own movie, like an important Q&A for his movie Megalopolis, he just can't stop talking about him. It's like, what is going on here with these people? Absolutely astounding. Yeah, and then you got this new technology from Meta, formerly Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg has put out a new smart glasses, Meta smart glasses, which apparently can be used to identify, strangers or anyone, of course, on the streets. If you apparently use a certain program developed by these two Harvard students, they're able to go around, look at anyone and know anything about them and act as if they were friends with them or, someone they knew back in the past. Here he goes up to a lady, doesn't even know her at all, says her first and last name, says, I met you a week ago at whatever, some sort of meeting. And she's like, oh, yeah. Like, it's just kind of amazing. These smart glasses, they just got released, and they're able to do this with them, right? Not exactly what I would call good technology. You have, of course, Blackstone buying restaurant chain Tropical Smoothie. As you see, more and more of these big companies just gobble up everything, including all the real estate, and actually a lot of single-family homes as well. BlackRock as well. And their name's been getting kind of famous of recent for a number of reasons. But getting into some other things really quick at the end of this video, I wanted to mention, this is rather curious, October 9th, very important day, apparently in the star constellations. You have a number of really strange things going on that day. Here you have the four, of course, horsemen showing up in the stars. You have these constellations getting near the moon, Mars, and Venus, essentially representing the colors of these four horses: red, black, gray, etc. And what's really interesting about this, there's another thing happening as well. Saturn's day is coming with the four, of course, horsemen. You go down here and notice in this picture, you have a constellation here where he's pouring out a bowl, and apparently Saturn stops right here and is in still retrograde where it doesn't move. And this bowl is being poured out on Saturn. Saturn is the sixth planet, has a hexagonal shape on it. And the word Saturn may come from the word Satyr. Satyr refers to the devil in Hebrew. And what's really interesting about that, of course, is it talks in Revelation about the devil and having a bowl poured out on him. So that's something that's kind of interesting that's happening on the 9th. You also have a number of other things. Like I mentioned, you have Hercules, Pollux, the red horse. You have Mars. And these are these horsemen I was referring to showing in the constellations. This refers or relates to Revelation 12 as well, which happened not that long ago, where we saw also a number of constellations all, of course, aligning and saying a message, literally the text of Revelation 12. But at any rate, so there is some really interesting things coming up soon here. We have an important day on October 31st as well, which is Halloween. That is the final day. If you add Daniel's 7 years to the Revelation 12, of course, sign, where we had the alignment back in 2017, September 23rd, you add the 7 years of Daniel to it, the last day is October 31st. Another important demarcation date is September 16th. This was the day that P. Diddy was arrested, by the way. And there's a number of predictions on from Clement and others saying that they, in the fall, will have kings, princes, and celebrities, of course, falling. And we're in the fall right now. So it is kind of interesting because Diddy is connected to all these people. And could that be what we see in the upcoming days? Kind of want some of you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.